Hello and welcome to another maths lesson. I'm gonna try and solve for you about 6 questions that a friend has asked me to help them with. So I'm actually responding to a friend of mine who has asked me to help them to answer these questions. So the first one is to factorize the following equation. And the equations are 49x squared minus 36y squared equals 12x squared plus 4x. Now to answer the first one, you might remember, and I'm going to write it somewhere here, you might remember that sometimes you're given a question like, that's a rubber, not very helpful. Sometimes you're given something like x squared minus 25, and you're asked to factorize this. So this is x plus 5x minus 5, okay? Because if you take this 2, let's see if we can find some colors. Let's see if we can change these colors to something else. That's variable. It's a triangle. I don't want that. I want the color. So let's change that to maybe red for a few minutes. So if you take x and you multiply it with x, and you take x again and multiply with minus 5, and you take 5, you multiply it with x, and you take 5 and you multiply it with minus 5, you're gonna get x times x is x squared. Then you're gonna get x times minus 5 is minus 5x. Then you're gonna get 5 times x is plus 5x. Then you're gonna get 5 times minus 5 is minus 25. So that means minus 5. Let's change that. So this minus 5 and this plus 5 goes to 0. So you're back to x squared minus 25, which is exactly that. So this is called a difference of two squares. It's called a difference of two squares. And when I look at that question, this one here, 49x squared minus 36y squared, I can also see a difference of two squares. Okay, if you notice this x, let me highlight that. So that's not a very good color for highlighting. I'm gonna use purple. Right, so if you look at this x squared, okay, if that becomes x, and x is just the square root of x, and this 5 is square root of 25. So it means if I take the two square roots, I can actually make the difference of two squares. So square root of 49x squared is just 7x, because square root of 49 is 7, and square root of x squared is x, minus square root of 36 is 6, square root of y squared is y. So it's going to be 7x minus y minus 6y times 7x plus 6y. So you notice that you got 7x, 6y, 7x, 6y. The only difference is here we have a minus. We have a minus here, and we have a plus here. Same as this one here, we have, might have to change the color again. We have a positive here and a negative here, but the x5 is all the same. So the answer to that question, 23, is 7x minus 6y, and then 7x plus 6y. If you want to prove that it is correct, here's what you do. You multiply 7x times 7x, then 7x times 6y, then minus 6y times 7x, then minus 6y times 6y. 7x times 7x is 49x squared. 7x times 6y is 42xy. Minus 6y times 7x is minus 42xy. Then minus 6y times 6y is minus 36y squared. So as you can see, this 42xy minus 42xy goes to 0. So you're left with, again, 49x squared minus 36x squared, y squared rather, which is the same as what we had before. So we've just managed to show or to prove that the answer is correct. So this answer here is correct. Okay, that's number 23. Number 24, I think I can just work it out here. Number 24 is 12x squared plus 4x. So if it's 12x squared plus 4x, it means I can factorize the 4 out because 4 can go into 12, and the x out because x can go into 12. So I can factorize 4x right out, and inside I'm going to be left with 3x, because 4x times 3x is 12x squared, plus 1, because 4x times 1 is 4x. So that is done. Number 25, I think I can do it here as well. It's just 5, factorize the 5 out, or rather, it's better to do it this way. We're going to take away, in fact, I think we need more space. So 5x minus 10 equals 0. Number 25, I'm going to have to change the color here. Number 25 says 5x take away 10 equals 0. So the first thing you want to do is you want to add a 10 to this side. And if you add a 10, this side is the left-hand side. Is the left-hand side of the equal sign. So I'm going to add plus 10 to the right-hand side. The right-hand side of the equal sign. Why am I adding a 10? I'm adding a 10 because I want to get rid of this 10. This is minus 10. So if I say plus 10, it means minus 10 plus 10 is 0. So I'm just going to be left with 5x, because I need to separate the numbers with letters like x, which is 5x, and just the numbers like 10, and bring the 10 to the other side. So basically that becomes 5x equals 10, because 0 add 10 is 10. Okay, so now that I've done this, I want to change this color so I can show you the next step. And the next step is to divide, because 5 multiplies x, but I just want x. So how do I get rid of 5? I divide by 5. And if I divide by 5 on the left hand side, I have to divide by 5 on the right hand side. So that means 5 cancels out here, and I'm left with x equals 2. So this is the correct answer. Basically what it means is if I put the 2 here where there is x, it's going to be 5 times 2, which is 10. 10 minus 10 is 0. And that's a 0, so that is correct. Okay. Number 26, 3x squared minus 27 equals 0. So I think 26 can be done over here. 26, 3x squared minus 27 equals 0. So again, we can add 27, just like for number 25, and add 27. Just because we want to get rid of this 27 and be left with 3x squared equals 27. Now because I have a 3 here, I have to divide by 3 because it's multiplying. So if I divide by 3, the 3 cancels, and divide by 3, and I get a 9. So now x squared equals 9, which means x equals plus or minus 3. So therefore x equals 3 or x equals minus 3. So it's important that you include both answers in this way. That might be too thick. Well, width, I'm going to make it smaller. So the answer is that, all that. So that was 26. What is 28? Solve the equation by formula and give the solution in set form. And I'm going to show you what set form is all about. So first of all, we want to solve this by formula. And by formula, what do we mean? We mean that we're going to use the equation x equals minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. And my divided by 2a is prolonged because it needs to divide everything from minus b to the end of the square root. So the equation is 2x squared plus 7x plus 1. Let's write it here. 2x squared plus 7x plus 1. And let's just make sure it's correct. 2x squared plus 7x plus 1 equals 0. Equals 0. And that's number 28. So we said we're going to use x equals minus b plus or minus square root of b squared, take away 4ac, divided by 2 times a. Okay, so first of all, what is a, b, and c? So we get a, b, and c by looking at this equation. So a equals 2, b equals 7, and c equals 1. The general equation is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So that's where we get a, b, and c. And coming back to the equation, we're going to have x is equal to minus b. If b is 7, minus b is minus 7, plus or minus square root of b squared means 7 squared, minus 4. AC means times a is 2, c is 1, divided by 2 times a, which is 2 times 2. So it's minus 7 plus or minus square root of 49 minus 8. So it's 49, take away 8, which is 41, divided by 4, because 2 times 2 is 4, which is minus 7. Minus 7 is there a back button? No, I'm going to have to use the rubber. So plus or minus square root of 41, because 49 minus 8 is 41 over 4. So this 41, root 41, gives us the set form. So x is equal to minus 7 plus 41 square root of 41 divided by 4, or x equals minus 7 minus square root of 41 divided by 4. That's it. These are the two answers in set form. So that was 28. And what is 29? It says solve the equation by factorization. So instead of solving by formula, which is that, this time I'm solving by factorization. So all of these equations can be solved using either factorization or by formula, and by another third method, which is not listed here. So this one is 2x squared plus 5x minus 3. 2x squared, 2x squared minus 5x plus 5x plus 5x plus 5x minus 3 equals 0. And I think that is number 29. Okay, so that's number 29. And we are using the factorization method. Factorization. So what does that mean? It means that first of all we need to multiply this 2 and this 3. In fact, that's a minus 3, so it's 2 times a minus 3, let's put brackets, is minus 6. So then we say, what two numbers do you multiply to make minus 6? And what two numbers do you add to make a 5? And by 5 we mean this 5 is that 5, and this minus 6 is that minus 6. Okay, so let's see. So what two numbers do you add to make a 5? Okay, we can add 2, add 3, that's gonna give us a 5. Okay, or we can, but if we add 2 and 3 to make a 5, we can also multiply 2 and 3 to make a 6. But the problem is that we don't have a 6, we've got a minus 6. So we need a number, that two numbers that if we multiply we make 6. Now we can make the 2 a negative, and that will give us minus 2 times 3 is minus 6. But the problem is that we cannot, if we say minus 2 plus 3, it's not going to give us a 5. So we need to come up with new numbers. Okay, so let's see. So what else could make, if we added them, to make a 6? I would say a 5. I would say 6 take away 1 will give us a 5, and 6 times a minus 1 will give us minus 6. Okay, so that's that's a better candidate. So what we do then is we take this here, 6 take away 1 is equal to 5, and we can just take that as 6x minus x equals 5x. So we're going to take that 6x minus x and replace it where there is this 5x. So we're going to say 2x squared, which is that 2x squared here, 2x squared, and then we're going to do plus 6x minus x minus 3 equals 0. Okay, now watch what's going to happen. We're going to factorize them in parts. So we're going to factorize these first two together, these first two terms, and then we're going to factorize those together. So what does that mean? It means that we can factorize a 2x here, brackets, and this becomes x plus 3, because 2x times x is 2x squared, and 2x times 3 is 6x, minus, I'm going to factorize the minus because I want a positive inside, so that this x plus 3 is the same as the x plus 3 I'm going to get here. So this becomes x plus 3 equals 0. Why? Because x plus 3 and x plus 3 have to be the same. And if I multiply by this minus, this negative, minus 1, we can call it a minus 1. Or just a negative times x is minus x. This negative times 3 is minus 3. So it goes back to that. Now the next thing we're going to do is we are going to factorize this x plus 3 is common. So x plus 3, x plus 3. We can write x plus 3, brackets, and then put another bracket and say we're left with 2x here if we factorize x plus 3, and we're left with minus 1 here if we factorize x plus 3, and that's equal to 0. Okay, So now we've got two terms. This term, this here, is equal to 0, and this here is equal to 0, because if x plus 3 is equal to 0, then 0 times 2x minus 1 is 0, so that means that is correct. If 2x minus 1 is 0, then x plus 3 times 0 is 0, so that means that is correct. So we just express these two as x plus 3 equals 0, or 2x minus 1 equals 0, which means here we need to add 1 left hand side and 1 on the right hand side. So now we have 2x is equal to 1, and then we divide by 2 and divide by 2, and the 2 is here cancel, which means x equals half. So x is half, or we take away 3, take away 3, so then we have x equals minus 3. So x equals minus 3, or x equals half. And if we want to check if that is true, we just go back to the equation. We put a minus 3 here, so it's going to be 2 times minus 3 squared is 9, so it's 2 times 9 plus 6 times minus 3 is minus 18, so it's minus 18. And then we don't want to use that one, we want to use this one. So minus 3, we said x is minus 3, minus 3 squared is 9, 9 times 2 is 18, plus minus 3 times 5 is minus 15, so we just have minus 15 here, and then minus 3 equals 18 take away 15 is 3, 3 take away 3 is 0, so that is correct, which means minus 3 is correct. We can put a half if we want. If we put a half, then a half squared is a quarter, so that's 2 times a quarter, plus a half times 5 is 5 over 2 minus 3. So 2 times a quarter is what? It's half. Okay, because 2 goes into 2, into 4 twice. So 1 half plus 5 halves minus 3. 1 half plus 5 halves is 6 halves minus 3. And 6 halves is 3. So 3 take away 3 is 0. So that also is correct because it's equal to 0. Okay. I think I've come to the end of these few questions. If there are any questions after this, please do let me know, and I will be able to offer some solutions. Goodbye.